Hey guys, welcome back to the In the Endrows podcast, the podcast where we talk to farmers and modders alike. This week, I'm very pleased to be joined by the one and only Tired Iron Modding. Why don't you say hi?
Hello, my name's Tired Iron Modding, and glad to be on the show, to be honest.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really happy you're on the show. I've known you and your modding stuff for a while, so it's really great to get in touch with you. Let's just how's your week been? How have you been doing?
Pretty good. Let's see, I released that TR not too long ago, so I've just been sitting here thinking of other stuff to work on, little projects here and there, but it's been relaxing. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, so this gameplay you should be seeing, I'm trying to say this at the beginning now instead of at the end. The gameplay you see in the background should be that TR Combine.
It's beautiful.
His stuff. Great thing. You should definitely go check it out and go check him out and get that downloaded. But yeah, I mean, on my end, I've been all right. Everything's been pretty good, but been pretty busy. Let's jump into things. I think we've met you. Most people here know who you are. But let's get to know you a little bit more. So let's talk about your history with farming. Is there anything you'd like to say about your history with agriculture and what that is?
Well, it's quite the story, actually. So I wasn't really ever born and raised in agriculture, which most people probably don't believe. And I grew up suburbs, normal suburb kid and all that. And I always wanted to be an architect when I grew up and all that. And then one day I went to my grandfather's farm and just saw how everything was going on. And I've always been a technical-minded person, wanted to figure out how everything works and all that. And so I said, this might be what I want to do. And I just kind of pursued it. And after that, I found Farm Sim and all that and made it my career and my life goals pretty much.
Nice. Very cool.
I don't regret it one bit or anything. It's quite the scene.
So is that what you're doing right now?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm in college right now studying mechanical engineering for agriculture and modding at the same time, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. I got my mechanical engineering degree 2 years ago.
There you go.
Thought about going into ag engineering, but the mechanical side is broad. I thought it might be better for the job market, but So you're going to school right now in the middle of all this. How's that been going?
It's been busy.
Yeah.
It's the main reason why I haven't been able to finish projects on time is because of school.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It can. I know what it's like to mod and go to school at the same time, and it can. It's you think about it during the day, right? I mean, you're sitting in class, you're sitting in whatever, and sometimes all you can think about is, well, what if I did this instead of that? Or what if I go home and try this? And then you spend the entire day getting excited about going home and trying whatever you thought about, right?
Oh, all the time.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. I totally know that feeling. But I mean, it's nice to have that. It's nice to have a mental space to go to be like, well, I can always like work on this in my head if I'm bored or whatever. So
you're supposed to be paying attention in class, but
well, especially with going to school during this entire pandemic, a lot of this stuff, I mean, I feel fortunate that I didn't have to go to school during the pandemic side of things. Yeah, that's how I feel. But I'm assuming a lot of the lectures and all the material, even when I was going to school outside of that, a lot of that is accessible online now. You can go back and see slides from professors' lectures. You can go back and even some of them will record them. I'm assuming a lot more of them are recording their lectures nowadays.
They have it as an option now. Most of my classes will just have it to where you can either go in class in person or you could watch the lectures later on. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And that's So I don't know if I heard you correctly. Are you pursuing farming specifically as a career now, or did it just inspire you to switch from architecture to agriculture?
Oh no, I am pursuing a degree in agriculture.
Yeah.
It's the technical term for it is an ag systems and technology degree with a unofficial minor in UAS systems, so drones.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's two big ag markets that I can get into.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat. So yes, it is an actual ag degree.
Oh, yeah. Good, good, good. Yeah. The use of drones and that sort of technology, because technology is transforming farming the way we know it.
Yeah.
And being on that side of things is definitely gonna propel you forward. It's gonna give a lot of opportunities. So, oh yeah, that awesome. That's really cool. What kind of farming does your grandpa do?
He's a just a standard row crop farmer up in Ohio. He does about 1,000 acres on his own with the help of his son and grandson, and he runs a 9500 John Deere with I think it's a 643 6-row corn head and a 625F grain platform, and he only runs two-wheel drive tractors.
Oh, nice.
But
Very cool.
he's got a pretty rare one, a quad range 4560 two-wheel drive, which is my favorite one.
Oh, cool. It isn't even a power shift or anything.
It's quad range.
Yeah, no, the power shifts are getting really popular, so I can see how the those quad rangers are a little rarer. No,
And
that's yeah,
he's also got a two-wheel drive 7630, which is
nice.
also I think that one's a power quad, and a 3020 diesel synchro.
Yep.
And I haven't been up there in a few years, but word on the street is he just picked up an 8R, or his son picked up an 8R. But I got to go figure that out sometime whenever I go up.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. 1,000 acres is, that's, the size, the large, medium, and smallness of a farm varies depending on where you are, but that's a decently sized farm for sure.
No, it's pretty good. It keeps him busy.
Yeah, absolutely. A farm like that will definitely keep you busy.
Yeah.
So is it the classic corn and soybeans rotation that a lot of Midwest grain croppers do?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Corn and soybeans, and all of my grandpa's uncles, or I guess brothers at that point, they're all into animals, so beef and dairy, and
Yep.
they raise wheat for them for bedding and all that stuff.
Oh,
And so
cool.
we quote unquote custom contract harvest for them, but we don't really charge them anything. I don't think
Right, right.
they don't own combines. We do. We just own that one.
Yep. Oh, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you've got that background in agriculture, and so what's your background with Farming Simulator then? Because what it sounded like to me was that your introduction to agriculture didn't happen until a bit later. But did Farming Simulator come before or after that, or what's the story behind that?
Well, I've always been into simulation games and PC games all my
Okay.
life,
Yeah.
and it was about 2015 when I was just browsing the Steam store. I was bored one day, and I was on the clearance aisle, and Farming Simulator 2011 came up. And
Yeah.
this was like right before I got into agriculture. This is before I went to my grandfather's farm,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it. And the funniest thing happened was I went to the comments section of the game, and some guy said, "I watched a cow. It took a poop, I guess you could say," and he rated it 10 out of 10. And I said, maybe this is a great game. And I tried it out, and something about it just clicked.
Nice.
And I haven't been able to put it down ever since.
No, that's awesome. What other kind
So,
of sim games are you into?
uh, I used to play a lot of War Thunder and World of Tanks and all those games.
Yeah, cool, cool. A little bit
Um,
deeper than like your Call of Duties and things like that.
yeah, yeah, the more realistic ones.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you're going to say something else? You're going to
Yeah, and
continue?
so technically I started in 2011, but that's not true. I really started in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and I played about 750 hours in 2015, and the time that 17 came out, I played twice that amount.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start modding until 17 when I experimented with stuff.
Right. So what do you mean by technically 2011? Because that's an interesting way to word that.
Well, I didn't start when 2011 came out,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I say technically, because I started with 2011, but 2011 was at the time of 2015's
Gotcha.
release.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, it would have been 2015, because I only played like maybe a week or two worth of 2011 until I did more research and found out that the newer game was out and all that.
That's really interesting that in 2014 probably would have been when 15 came out, right?
Yeah.
In 2014, you fell in love with the 2011 version of the game. And a
I
lot
didn't
of
even know
times
it's a new one.
I mean, that's really awesome. I mean, really, you must have been super excited when you found out, oh my gosh, there's already a better version out there.
Oh, I was stoked.
Yeah.
I was so
So.
excited, and everything was new back then. I didn't really know anything, and just
Mm-hmm.
trying stuff and running big acres was fun to me. And now I
Yep.
can't even run a save game.
Yeah, for sure. So, how did that domino into modding the game?
Well, I don't think I played the base game for very long until I found out about mods.
Mm-hmm.
And once you found out about mods, it's like a sickness. You just can't stop. But it's a
Yeah.
good one. And I let's see, I just kept downloading mods, and then one day I just decided to tinker with one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 17 when I did that.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did you start with? What was your first kind of project?
If I remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
Ross W released in 17 as of now, a god awful 4560 Americanized.
Yeah.
It was horribly scaled, and he knows it too, and we all kind of make fun of it, and somehow it's in 19 now.
Mm-hmm.
But he released that in 17 on FSUK, and I took that, or I think he released a 4760, so I took it, and I don't know how I did it, but I somehow made a 4560 out of it, and I scaled the cab of it because it was too skinny, and
Yeah.
I made it thicker and wider, and I added flashers that didn't work, but they were just there, and then I added mirrors,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember if I changed the decals or not, but that was technically my first official mod.
Okay. Okay.
And after that, it just kind of got out of hand.
Just keeps getting
Yeah.
deeper and deeper. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I forgot what it was. Oh crap. Anyway, so so you're kind of at the point. So that kind of grew, right? Because now you're kind of doing the whole. You're not downloading other people's mods and
Mhm.
sticking on decals and
No.
flashers that don't work. You're doing your whole own thing. So what was
Yeah.
the progression of that? Because you really started modding in 17. Like you do like Blender work now, I'm assuming,
Mhm.
right? And all this other stuff. Like you've been through the whole workflow, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. I'm learning the whole workflow with different projects. So how did that progress? Do you remember how that?
Um. So after I guess the Big Bang Theory of the 4560, I started putting on flashers and mirrors on every tractor that I could get a hand on, and then I found a 9610 from FS13 converted to 17,
Mm-hmm.
but it had the original factory extensions on it, and I wanted to put a Mauer extension, so I can't believe I did it, but I overlaid the Mauer on the existing factory extensions, and it looked horrible. And I don't think I even messed with the fill plane. It was just there for looks. And
Mm-hmm.
if any of you go back and look at Tired Iron Modding, I think some of my first posts, that combine was there. And I spent so much time on that thing.
Yeah.
And I even had the decals wrong and everything, and people pointed it out, and I didn't realize it. And I fixed it all, and I tried to make it as good as possible, but it was just a horrible thing. I didn't ever want to see it ever again. But after that, I mean, after the 9610,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just kept messing with stuff, and then I got into map making, and I made my own map for 17. It was private. It was not even as big as a 1x or anything like that, but it
Right.
was just a little project, just a fictional map, just to play around with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, so that kind of got me into map making, and
Yep.
then just kept on experimenting, and I made my own, started making my own tractors and releasing them, and well, not really making my own, but editing stuff and releasing that on the page, and
Yep.
thinking it was pretty cool.
Yeah. No,
And yeah, but just kept doing that. And
that's
then that
awesome.
led all the way up to 19 until
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, let's see, about 6 or 7 months ago, when I decided to start doing it all from scratch on my own.
Yeah.
And that's really how it progresses. Just you just start with one thing, and it's just domino effects.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, you know, it starts with editing. It starts with changing things like changing lines of XML code and and importing objects and gluing them onto things, right? And then it gradually progresses. If you keep going, eventually you get to the point where, oh, I want to do this myself. I want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
I want to grow, and it hits that point, right? Like,
it does. I mean,
yep,
you got to start somewhere.
yeah, no, for sure. Start simple and work your way up. Like, I've
Mm.
followed the same path. I think when I came back this winter, I came back with the conviction that stuff, everything, almost everything that needs to be converted has been converted, right?
Oh yeah,
And I
pretty
wanted
much.
I wanted to make something myself, make something for the game that's never been there before. And with an engineering degree, I was used to modeling softwares like SolidWorks and like just parametric modelers like SolidWorks, Inventor, and Fusion 360 and all those other things. But
Yeah.
Blender's different. It's direct modeling. It takes a little bit of practice, and you know, I the same place as you. You look back at the previous things you've done, and you think, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible."
Oh,
Uh,
it's all embarrassing to me now. I don't even know what I was thinking back then.
yeah, like in the amount, the sheer amount of time you put into doing those absolutely terrible things,
Hmm.
because it took you so long to do something really basic, and because you just didn't know anything, right?
No,
So,
yeah. I remember one time there was an Iron Horse pack that was released for 17. I don't remember if it was public or private. I just somehow got my hands on it,
mm-hmm,
but it had a big chrome pipe on it, and I'm not a big fan of chrome pipes.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes I'll say that they're necessary, but sometimes I'd rather just have the standard factory settings.
sure.
So I took the chrome pipe and I spent an entire day trying to figure out how I can make it a not a chrome pipe. And I broke them out multiple times because it's just little simple things that I did.
mm-hmm.
But I ended up somehow removing the gloss map, and it was just a straight black pipe, and I somehow scaled it to where it was not thinner.
Yeah,
I called it a day, and I was so happy that I fixed it. And I think that was very early on in my modding career, but I
mm-hmm.
could do that now in like 10 seconds.
Exactly, right. It's
Yeah.
yeah. You look at, especially now as you grow and you do stuff and you think, wow, what I'm doing today, I couldn't even have imagined it doing like 2 years ago.
Oh no, no, I never thought I'd get this big.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think I'd be capable of making what I have in front of me, right? So
Mm.
it's really cool, and that's I think that's what keeps a lot of people invested, is that it's always a learning experience.
Oh yeah,
There's
that's how I see it. It's
mhm,
just a learning experience.
there's
I'm not
always more
really.
to do.
Yeah.
Yep. You never really truly know everything, right?
No, that's not possible.
No. There's always
I'm
more
still
to.
learning every day that I work on stuff.
Yeah. Nope. No, never trust a modder that says they know everything, because they
No,
don't.
they can't.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's hard to learn what you need to know in this community and in this particular hobby. Sometimes it can be very difficult to learn things.
Oh, there are some things that have absolutely just won the battle of me trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And there have been times where certain projects like the TR sometimes it's given me some issues, and I have to like set it down and come back to it the next day and try and figure it out at a different angle.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's just all my modding is. The way that I see it is you practice and practice and you try different methods and you just keep going until you find something that works, and then you just remember how to do that and
Yeah.
go from there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about, let's have a conversation that aspiring modders would really like to listen to.
Okay.
For all those people out there that you want to learn how to mod farming sim, you want to learn how to do things. Do you have any like tips or tricks you would like to say to them? Any inspirational words? Any valuable resources that you would like to
Oh,
point them towards?
yeah, I do. So the best way that I found to start modding
Mm-hmm.
is practicing on stuff, and don't start from scratch. Start with like a mod edit, like how I did. Just
Mm-hmm.
start with learning how scripting is worked, but don't learn how like to write it. Just learn how it works. Learn how Giants Editor works and how some things will break the mod and some things you'll be fine, or ways you can fix it. Just figure out the basics and fundamentals before you actually dive in and either buy a Blender model or make your own Blender model, because you got to figure out how to script things first.
Yep.
And you got to figure out how to do things in Giants Editor.
Yep.
And I'm not perfect in either, but it's all about learning it, and you just got to start somewhere. So the best way that I say is just practice and take like a tractor that you've always wanted. That's something's close by. I don't know, go in paint.net, change the color of something on it. Go in UDIM, change the color materials of it or anything like that. Just something simple. And that gives you the practice and the knowledge of, hey, maybe I do know how to do this. And then you just keep going from there. And there's always YouTube, and YouTube always has a bunch of tutorials on little things. And sometimes I find myself on there going on YouTube trying to figure stuff out. And once you figured out enough editing and you think you're ready for Blender, you can go ahead and watch Blender tutorials and figure out how to do that. And another thing about Blender is before you even make models is editing models in Blender, exporting them as OBJ files and importing them in Blender and just deleting faces or seeing if you can add stuff to it and just figuring out the layout of Blender. Because when I started modeling in Blender, I was pretty familiar with how Blender worked, but I just didn't figure out how to make stuff in Blender. And it did only take me one video to figure out how to model stuff, which I still don't understand how that's possible. But it just took me one video, and it taught me all the basic fundamentals of taking a cube and making it into whatever you want.
Yep, absolutely.
So you just go from there.
That's all Blender is. It's all stretching shapes. It's all stretching and manipulating existing shapes. And
it's like sculpting.
Yep. And it pretty much is. It's sculpting in a very precise ways and sculpting very specific parts, because I think Blender is really confusing until it just clicks. Because I think you approach it, especially from like my perspective of the way that the modelers I'm used to work, is that everything is measured. I don't know if you've ever used a software like that before, but everything is drawn and measured and then extruded from a two-dimensional plane. And everything is very precise and numbers based. And that really confused me on approaching Blender for the longest time. But at some point it just clicked. I was like, it's not even going to make sense. I can't say it in a way that's going to make it click for others, because you have to discover it for yourself. So this isn't particularly incredible or insightful, but at some point you just have to realize, oh, we're just making shapes. We're just stretching and bending and cutting and creasing cubes. That's all this is. And
there are no measurements whatsoever.
Well, no, there aren't. You can use the measure tool. And the way, actually, I use the measure tool a lot when I'm modeling, if I know measurements, right? Like the way I'm making the rotary hoe is I found a parts manual online, and it'll let you go to each individual part, and it'll tell you the largest, the middle, and the smallest dimensions. And then I use that as references for when I'm actually modeling it. And I got my father-in-law to actually take one of the arms off of his rotary hoe, and I have it in the apartment, and I took a reference two-dimensional shots and actually measured it and used a bunch of things. So I think that's a trap you can fall down, is being extremely precise and obsessed with details. I think I fell for that a little bit. I mean, my model's done. I'm happy with it. It looks great. But when I made it, if you don't know what I'm talking about, audience, I'm making a John Deere 400 rotary hoe. Just go look it up. It's just a small implement used for post emergence weeding and topsoil crust breaking. But I made it, and then I got it into the game, and I realized all the little details I put hours and hours and hours of work into are barely visible because it's only like 3 feet high. So you can't fall down that trap. And it'll take you forever if you want to be perfect. And I learned that a lot as I was progressing into learning to model with Blender. I thought, well, if I want this to be super detailed, I need it to have a lot of vertices. But really, art is just illusion. Art is just tricking I'll say this just from the perspective of art is just tricking the brain into processing something a certain way, right? And that's the same way you have to look at 3D modeling is it's just illusion work. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to give you the the suggestion that this is what it's supposed to be. And that doesn't mean you should just do everything in a super tricky way, but there's a lot of tricks and tips you can use in learning what's important to put detail into and what's not important to put detail into. Learning your boundaries and learning, what's this and what's that. If you are getting into modding, just look at a lot of just break down some of the in-game equipment, and you'll be surprised how simple it actually is. And there's a lot of tricks. A lot of it's not actually it's not super complicated. It's not rocket science. The hardest part is making all the pieces work together. The modeling is not, a lot of the modeling is actually just like tricky detail work and not necessarily like complex shapes. So
it's all about figuring out where to put the detail and when and why, and just trying to figure it out, because I know on all my models I pretty much eyeball it because there's no really other way you can do it. I go on auction sites and I try to pick out the most square side and the most square front picture of it, and that gets me like a relative idea of dimensions wise and scaling, and then I just go from there.
Yep. No, that's nothing absolutely great.
Is actually perfect.
Nope, it's not, and it can't be. And if it was perfect, it would be impossible to put in the game because of how much detail it would need. And that's just kind of how it is. So but back to it was a long turnaround back to your point. But back to your point, if you're starting modding, the best place to start is just to take existing things and start tinkering with them. Just start breaking them down. Open up the XML file, get Notepad++, download it. Open the XML file, open the mod description, open the Giants editor, and then see how everything connects and see what nodes make what things work.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely the best way to start.
Exactly. And I mean, I'd say the most useful apps or applications, I guess you could say, are Notepad++. That's just a given. You have to have Notepad++.
Pretty essential.
Notepad, you'll be there for 3 years just trying to find the same thing.
Yeah.
Paint.net, I like using that one. I'm not sure if you use it or not.
I use Paint.net and I use GIMP sometimes too.
And GIMP is a good one too.
Yep. But
those are very essential, like used on every project.
Yep. Use Paint.net if you want to. Your essential softwares are Notepad++, Paint.net, and the Giants engine editor, of course. With those 3 things, you can do a lot.
Yeah, and you don't even need Blender.
No, you don't even.
Not yet, at least.
No. When you're first starting out, Notepad++ and the Giants editor and Paint.net are your friends.
Just be aware of little things like don't move the outdoor camera because then you'll screw up the camera, or don't try and scale a rigid body, it'll crash the game.
Yep.
And don't try and change the type of rigid body because then it'll explode. And I mean, for fun times, I've taken whole models and just changed the rigid body to dynamic and kinematic and just bought the tractor, watch it explode. Fun.
That's what it does. It goes haywire. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't edit your camera. It'll end up upside down in the cab. Yep. Yeah, just play with things though. You know what? Yeah. Don't be afraid to break things either.
Exactly. I have a whole folder on my computer of just videos of like screen recordings of times I've just broken mods.
It can make the best things happen, can't it?
Oh my gosh, I am never deleting that folder. It is so fun to look back and be like, yeah, I can fix that now, or I don't even know how this happened, because sometimes you script it completely correct and you go in game and it's flying somehow and you don't know how. And it's aggravating, and then you just got to try and figure it out.
No, it almost never happens perfectly the first time.
Oh, no.
And sometimes your first import is, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is actually working. And then you start working on fixing things, and then you break things you thought were fine earlier. And you're like, oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, I got that.
No, for sure. I was working on my project, and I had one of the arms marked as a rigid body, and it landed in the store, and it was just shaking. It was just like vibrating. It was just like doing the potty dance in the store because
There you
one of
go.
the arms was a dynamic body. But yeah, another thing, if you're going to be modding, download the Easy Dev Controls mod. It is
Mm,
incredibly useful. In
Super.
Because
So,
I remember when Farming Sim 19 came out and you had to mod things, you would have to go to the console and copy paste in all these commands to like, okay, I don't want to have a HUD. Okay, I want to be able to add a bunch of money, or I want to change this or change that or whatever. And or reload this vehicle. And the Easy Dev controls give you all the power to do that now. And it's absolutely, I consider it an essential tool for modding nowadays.
oh yeah, I actually didn't get into easy dev controls until the end of the TRs because I knew about it
Mm-hmm.
and I just never experimented with it. And I used it and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty great. I don't have to go out and combine a whole field to test a field plane.
No, yeah. You can change everything. You can reload all that stuff. You can make a fallow field like a fully grown wheat field if you want to. You can change
Yeah.
field states. You can reload vehicles. You can change weather. You can change time of day. You can set wiper states. You can do
So,
yeah.
and I still remember or I still use all the console commands for set wiper state, GS,
Mhm.
toggle HUD,
Mhm.
set FOV, all that kind of stuff because it's just muscle memory. But easy dev control makes it so much easier. You just click on the button.
Yeah. So that's
So
another
so
highly
simple.
recommended tool. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. No, that's really cool, and that's the most important part. And one tip I got from, I remember reading this in some Discord a couple years ago when I first started modding in early 2019, is somebody said don't make your dream project your first project,
No, do not.
because there's two things to it. First of all, your first project isn't going to be that great. It's
No.
just not. I know you're going to feel like you're learning a lot and you're going to feel like it's the best thing ever. But trust me, if you keep modding and keep progressing, you're going to look back at that a year or two and you're going to think, wow, that was not great.
Yeah.
And the second thing there is you're it's going to make it harder to go back and do it again, because you're going to feel like, oh, I already went and did that once. I don't even know if I can, undo all my work and redo it again. Maybe you can. Maybe you're really into it and that's how you feel. But just
Yeah.
be careful about that. Start playing with just random stuff.
Yeah. Start with something that you would like to do, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like top of the list.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
I mean, for instance, that 4400 that I made I would consider that to be my first successful start from scratch, scripted it all myself, modeled it all myself, did everything by myself mod.
Yeah.
And I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, I could go back and fix this. There's so many little things that I just don't like about it. And I guess I kind of fell in that little category of don't do your um, dream project as your first one
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really my dream project, but I
Sure.
definitely wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I might go back and redo it eventually. There's so many little things about it, but it's not a bad one either. It's very good
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. Just don't try to bite off more than you can chew at once.
Exactly.
It's, take your time, do what you know you can do. And,
Hmm.
watch lots of YouTube videos. There's a lot
Oh,
of information out there.
it's
And
very
I kind of wish there was more. We are honestly kind of lacking on those sort of tutorials for the community. There's a
I
lot
could,
of things people don't know, but there is stuff out there if you look.
there's helpful ones out there for sure.
Yeah.
You just gotta find them.
Especially when you get to the Blender side. I mean, when it comes to the Blender side, it's important to distinguish what's a general good Blender tip and what's specifically good in the context of modding for Farming Simulator. Because there are
Yes.
some things you don't need to do or need to learn out there. Like especially when you get to like making gloss maps, albedo maps, all that kind of texturing stuff. Not all
Mm,
of that is relevant or useful for Farming Simulator, and there's only a few real tricks out there you need to learn.
right.
So, and get that. And for all you people out there with old Blender 2.79, I don't know what version you use, but uh, do you use the old 2.79?
Yep.
Oh, I gotta, you gotta, dude, you gotta upgrade. Trust me. The tools in the new version of Blender are absolutely insane. I should show you sometime.
You're gonna have to, but the only reason I use 2.79 is because it's what I've always used and I know how everything works.
Right.
But on that note, 2.79 does grind my gears a few times.
Why is
And
that?
because I don't know if it's me doing it because I'm still fairly new to Blender, but you'll go through a project and you'll be about 15 hours into it, and you'll go to inset a cylinder and it doesn't even symmetrically do it after that or anything like that, or little options will get turned on that you don't notice and it'll mess up everything. But I'm willing to try 2.9. I just got to get into it.
Oh, I got it. We should after this. I should show you really quickly some of the new cool stuff you can do. Because in the new version, you can edit the UDIM textures before you export it. There's a way there's a way to bring in the you can bring in a normal map and a diffuse map, and you can bring in the vehicle shader XML, and you can edit the UDIM textures before you export it into the Giants engine.
Okay, you're showing me after this thing.
You can make skinned meshes, so you can make hoses that fold with arms. You don't need Maya for that anymore. You can do that in Blender now.
Okay, well, I'm behind then, is what I'm hearing.
I learned how to do that the other week for some other guy's mod. But yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff you can mess with. You can change it gives you all the text boxes for i3D. You can make things dynamic shapes or mark them as collision meshes and type in the 2002 collision font before you export it. You can do a lot of the work you would need to do in Giants Engine before you even export it from Blender now. So I highly recommend going to just look up the community made Blender exporter. It should be on GitHub. And I think there's a guy called, is it Red Phoenix on YouTube or something like that? Just look up Blender 2.8 exporter tutorials on YouTube. And there's a guy that's gone over a lot of the really good stuff the new exporter can do now. So I highly recommend that for any of you guys out there. I might even leave the link to that in the description. I hope I remember to. If I forgot, I'm sorry, but I'll try to leave the link to that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, that's really strong. So
yeah, sounds like I'm behind is what I'm hearing.
You're not behind. You've got you're just not ahead. You're not behind.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Exactly. So
yeah.
So what are your favorite projects of all time? What are your favorite mods you've made that you look back and you think, wow, I'm really pleased with that?
Oh, okay. I think number one, which is probably my most successful, is Westby, Wisconsin. That map is we haven't really put it down per se. It just keeps getting better and better. Its first version came out like 2 months after the game.
Yeah.
So the game released in, I think it was October, wasn't it?
Yeah, October, November or something.
Yeah, so it was out by, I think I released it for New Year's, and that was the first version of it. And so then it kind of became a weird tradition that every winter break we'd mess with Westby and fix something here or add something there, because the original version only had one cow farm because I couldn't get the other ones to work for some reason.
Yeah.
And then the next year I knew a lot more because I'd messed with a lot more maps. So I added more than that, changed the grass textures. The black grass is still there for some reason, which I found out is a graphics problem.
Oh, really?
Like if you have low graphical settings, for some reason the grass will turn black. I don't know why. You just gotta turn up your graphical settings. I don't know which one it is though, off the top of my head. But Westby just kept evolving and getting bigger and better, and we put in new roads, added seasonal foliage. I don't know if we released the version or not, but we had field dimensions on it and contracts, and it just kept getting bigger and better. And so that's probably my most favorite project of all time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I remember seeing the squad play with that in early 2019. Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the first American sort of new larger maps out there. So.
Yeah, it was probably one of the first ones, if not the first, which I don't think it was the first.
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure there was some European 4X map that that beat you to it or whatever. But yeah,
The
no,
first Great American one.
definitely really cool. If you've never played on that map, you should definitely give it a try. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Um, what kind of stuff do you think you have coming up? I know you just finished your New Holland combines. You got those out. People are really happy with those. But
Yeah.
what do you think is next?
Well, I'm definitely not done with the 4400 in that series. So that's just a little teaser on that.
Okay.
I've said a little bit about that on my page, but a little while back, I was on ModHub and I remembered that Modding Welt released a edit of the John Deere T560 combine, and they made it into a side hill version
Mm-hmm.
or a hillside. I don't remember which one it was. And so I took that one day, or I think it was over the course of 3 days in January, and I just took it and ran with it, and I made a 9500, 9510, and a 9550 side hill out of it. And they work pretty well. They have a few issues. They don't really conform to the ground very well. When the ground will switch on you, it'll stutter. I think it's just a whole rigid body and collision kind of issue, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely not done with side hills. I'm going to make more of those.
Awesome.
The one thing I've thought about is all of my projects are pretty much combines for some reason, and I'm not sure why.
I mean, we all have our specialties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all enjoy different things, and I don't know, whatever we're drawn to, we're drawn to. We're drawn to different eras of equipment. We're drawn to different types of equipment, and that's usually what people end up specializing in.
Mm-hmm. And I have, I'll say this now, is I have some ideas for some self-propelled forage harvesters, and
Ooh.
some may be deer, some may be not deer, and I won't tell you all that yet, but
yeah.
experiment with that. And I'm not sure about tractors yet, making those, because I want to make some old JI cases, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just got to get the motivation one day to do it.
Yep. You gotta feel like doing it before you do it and all that. Do you mod with anybody else? I thought you said the word we there.
Actually, no.
No.
Everybody thinks that Tired Iron Modding is a bunch of people, but in all reality, I'm the only one that does everything. And I guess you could say we, as in I have a few friends that help test it and point out little things, but I'm the one who scripts everything. I'm the one who models everything. Mm-hmm. I'll ask other modders for help, but I'm the one at the end of the day doing everything for the modding page. But for mapping, I work with MB Farms, and Ross W sometimes helps out a little bit. We're all pretty close together.
Oh, good. Cool.
The modding part, it's just I'm the only one doing it. Yep. So that's why projects take so long, is I have to make it and then script it and make sure it actually works and then add options and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of time.
It's just me, and I think I'm getting a little bit too big for just me.
Yep. It's way more exciting to take on new projects than to finish them.
Oh, yes, for sure. I have a few projects that are just sitting incomplete, but one day I'd love to finish them.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you probably know about this. I don't know if you get this or not, but you'll just be sitting one day and you're like, dang, I just really want to do this one thing. Because last night I was just sitting, and the only thing I wanted to do was make a Massey Ferguson 550 combine. That's all I wanted to do at that point. And if I started, I would have gotten pretty big into it. And I don't know how well I would have gotten into it, but it's just you sit down and you just think of something and you get all invested into it. And that's usually what starts a lot of my projects.
Yep. It's the obsession phase. It's the I'm looking this thing up online. I'm reading forums about it. I'm finding pictures of it online. I'm searching all the auctions. I'm searching all the options. Okay, what can I do with this thing? What do I know about this thing? But, it's fun to start them, but you gotta remember when you start things, it's a big commitment. It's a huge time commitment. And, starting a model and getting halfway through it and just kind of leaving it to sit for months can make you feel kind of bad. About everything.
I'll give you two examples of that. Is the 4400 was prime example, because I had just completed the quote-unquote new generation series, the 33 through 7700s, and I released those, and I knew they were garbage. I hated them. I just needed to get something out there because I had a 6600 and 7700 and 17, but it was god-awful. I don't know why I did that. But it was just learning at that time. So I put those out, and this was before I knew Blender modeling. And so I put those out, and then about a month after learning how to do Blender, I had just done the open station for the 6000 series with Tyson Deniz, which was my first Blender model.
Yeah.
And then I made the DMI Big Little, which was the actual first model on its own, which I like that model. It's just slightly scaled wrong.
Yeah.
It's a little too small, but overall it's a pretty great model. And then I just one day, actually it was for like a whole week, I was just in a 4400 kind of mood. I don't know why. I just kept watching like videos on them, going to auction sites, and then one night I just said, well, let's just do it. And well, we see what happened after that.
Yeah. No, that's how it is. And if if a modder's not talking a lot, not sharing a lot of their projects, they're not giving a lot of updates, it's because there's got to be a balance there. You can't overcommit and overpromise, because nothing feels worse than telling people you're going to do something and then feeling like you're not going to get to do it, feeling like you don't have the motivation to do it, and feeling like it's something you have to do rather than something you want to do.
Yeah, and my second example of that actually lines up perfectly with that is the TRs. That was a spur of the moment project, because a little time that I put out a post on my page asking everybody for ideas on mods, which is, I still go back and look at that and I think of ones that I could do and ones that I would actually want to do and which ones got repeated so many times and all that kind of stuff. But I saw somebody did a TR, and I've always thought about it, because the one TR we always had in 17, it was pretty not good at all. I didn't think it was very good at all.
Sure.
And I like to do new stuff that hasn't been introduced in Farm Sim. I'm not going to make a new 4020 because there's been 30 already.
Yep.
So that was a spur of the moment. But the one mistake that I think I made on it was I promised to have, or I didn't really promise, I said I'd have the beta out by the beginning of March. But it turned out to be the beginning of April.
Yeah.
And that was all because of school and all that. But a bigger portion of that not getting out early was because I kind of hit that no motivation phase where I had it modeled and I had it all scripted and it was working, but I just had to do interior decals, and I'm not a big fan of doing interior decals. But what happened is I finally just sat down one day, and it took me 2 days, one day on each series, and I just knocked it out because I had to.
Yeah.
And I got it out of the way, and I fixed it all and got it released finally. But projects do hit dead points a lot. It's kind of a common occurrence, and then it's the hardest part is just trying to pick it back up and go through it again.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it. These are almost purely driven by passion, and that comes and goes.
Passion.
Yeah, you can't force love. You can't, because when you're so invested in a project and you've put so many hours into it, you kind of love it in a way, and you can't force that, and you can't. Sounds cheesy, but it's true. You can't force that, and you can't make that happen. And I've been at the point where like you're doing something and you're excited about it, but I try not to share it until I know it's going to be a thing, or I know I can make progress on it, because it's once you put something on Facebook, people are going to hold you accountable to it. Even if you say maybe, like even the word maybe is dangerous, because people will read past that and they'll say, well, he said he was going to do this. I know he's going to do this. And you'll hold yourself accountable, because even you will remember them. You'll remember the maybe this, but all you'll remember truly is this. I said this, if you care about what you're saying to your community and all of that stuff, it's just tough.
It's very tough. It's the leading reason that most of my projects die, is the passion just goes away.
Yep.
Or I get bored of it and I don't want to pick it up again.
Yeah, because Sometimes you look up and there's a long hill to climb to get something finished.
Yep.
And and then you only have so much time, and something else grabs your attention, and you want to do that more. You want to do
Yeah.
that more. It's like, I would rather do this instead of that. And it kind of
Yeah.
gets maddening and easy to forget, like, wait, I was just doing this like as a hobby, right? Or like,
Oh
is
yeah, I
this
do it for a
consuming my
hobby.
life?
Yeah.
At some point it's easy to forget that.
Um, I've always said, and I'm gonna stick to it, is that I'm never gonna charge anybody for the work that I do. I just do it as a hobby. It's just a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And the page is completely free. All my mods are free to download. And if I delete the link because of storage issues on my Mediafire, I apologize. But I'm never going to charge anybody for it. I'm not going to put up a Patreon or a PayPal or anything like that. And I've had people message me and will pay for a mod. And I'll say, no, I won't take your money, but I'll do it for you. And sometimes that's the spur of the moment edit that doesn't take too long.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times it's a whole full-blown project.
Yeah.
But this is, to me, it's just a hobby, and I do it on my own time. And the reason I do that is because if I were to take people's money for it, then I'm on their time, and they're the ones telling me what to do.
Exactly. Like,
and I don't want to do that.
It's I know quite a few people in the community have a Patreon. That's fine, but to me that seems like a terrifying commitment.
Yeah, it's a business.
When you're harvesting people's money every month, then you feel like you owe somebody something.
Yeah.
Like I don't have anything like that, and I just straight up walked away for a year and a half, and maybe that made some people sad or whatever, but I was free to do that, and I didn't owe anybody anything because I didn't ask for I wasn't collecting their money, and I wasn't giving them anything in return for their money. It was all, so
Yeah.
it's just tough. It's just scary. And I think, the reason we want to do things is because we want people to enjoy them, and not because, not really for many other reasons. So absolutely.
Yeah. Plus, it gives me the freedom to make whatever I want to make, and I can share it with the public, which is the whole reason as to why I have a modding page.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people put a lot of work into mods that they never intend to release to everybody else. And, more power to you. But I could never imagine putting so much work into something and not wanting to see it in somebody else's hands. To be scrolling through Facebook or to be looking through YouTube and seeing something you made in somebody else's game, in somebody else's content, that's the most fulfilling part of modding to me, I think. Is I made this experience and somebody else is having it too. That makes me so happy.
That is exactly why I'm on. Is on Facebook, I'll scroll through and I'll see old projects of mine, and I'll laugh a little bit and think, what was I thinking back then, or whatever. Or I'll see like the TRs or the 4400 or the Westby, and it just gives you a feeling that money can't ever fulfill.
Yeah.
Because people are actually using what you've wanted, what you've made, and it's just, you just can't put money on that.
Nope. Giving people experiences.
It's exactly why I'm on, because everybody gets happy, and there's no better feeling than looking at the comment sections and all the happy people.
Absolutely. And if people want to experience something and you can give that to them, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll always take requests for mods, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Right.
It's all based on if I think, hey, would I use this, or hey, this would be pretty cool to make. Because personally, I'm my own worst critic, and I usually don't use my own mods because I just see all the issues in them.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely make them.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
The fun part.
Yeah, like I've said this before, but if you're out there and you're messaging modders asking them to make things for you, be warned that you're probably gonna, it's the high chance you'll have your heart broken if you're really counting on that, because it's a lot of time. Sometimes even to make really simple things, it can be a substantial amount of time, and modders only have so much time.
Yeah, and it's all on my time, and not trying to say that that's a bad thing or anything, or not trying to push anyone away, but everything that I do is based on if I have time to do it or not. Yep. I don't really have a set schedule, like this is what time I have to mod, and this is what time I have to script or anything like that. It's just hey, I have a 4 hour break. Why don't I just mess with like an old combine to see what I can do with it?
Exactly. Like most of us are trying to squeeze this in between our normal lives,
Mm.
spare hours instead of the hours you might spend playing Farming Simulator are the hours a modder might spend in XML or Blender or whatever.
Yep.
Honestly, I find myself having very little time to play the game anymore. Maybe I'm way too invested in what I'm doing, but do you ever get that feeling?
I personally, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but I find more enjoyment making mods than playing the game.
No, I think that's a really valid point. Because when you're playing the game, all you can be thinking to yourself is, well, I could be using this to make more stuff for the game. I'm not doing anything productive right now. Like,
Exactly.
and it's fun. It's fun. It's very rewarding. It's a creative outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had it to where MB and Ross and I have just been in a Discord call together, and we start a save game all together. Not really on like multiplayer, but we'd all just play on the same map, but just run our own farms in our own ways. And we'd sit there, and I'd be like, "Hey, uh, a Heston Field Queen would be kind of nice right now." Just for an example, I didn't actually do this or anything, and
Mm-hmm.
they'd be like, "Yeah, yeah," and then you get the whole ball gets rolling, and then everybody's motivation spikes, and then somebody's like, "Well, why don't you do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I go to auctiontime.com, get myself some pictures. 3 days later, I have a Heston Field Queen,
Yeah.
and that's happened on multiple projects,
Oh, for sure.
and that's usually the best feeling is just that initial um, spark into a project, and that's how most of my stuff starts. It's just, hey, it's a spur of the moment. Why don't I just do this? And then I get invested into it and do it, and then you hit that lump where you got to finish it, and then once it's done, you get to see everybody reap the benefit of it.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So we've about hit our time here. We've been talking for almost an hour, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So would you like to share with, if anybody's listening, thank you so much. Would you like to share with people now that we've finished where we can find you and your work?
Yeah. So I'm only found on Facebook. Tired Iron Modding is the page. Go give it a like and a follow. And Tired Iron Modding Group is the group that goes along with it. It's sometimes I'll post in there of random projects I'm working on. Most of the time, it's just for y'all to just post whatever you want in the group about farm sim, and it's just an open group. But I can just be found on Facebook there, and I don't have a Discord server. I'm thinking about making one, but I'm kind of enjoying the peace and quiet.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in Tyson's server a lot, and I know you're in his server too, and it
yeah.
can be if it really gets popular and takes off, it can be a lot of work. So,
Yeah, and that's also another thing is I'm in a bunch of other modders Discord servers. You could find me there,
yep.
but just Facebook is the only place. And I've uploaded some mods to Mod Network and some to Mod Hub, but mainly just Facebook and my pin post to get all my mods if you want them.
Awesome. So yeah, you can find him at Tired Iron Modding on Facebook and go to his page is one of the more popular ones. You can definitely go there. As for me, my name is Rooster. You can find me at Rooster Mods on Facebook. I don't really have a public Discord server or a page or anything else, so that's pretty much where you can find me. And you can find content here. Please subscribe to In the Endrows. I'm hoping to talk to a lot more people and make a lot more exciting content for you guys. So all right. Well, thank you for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll have to talk again sometime. But
We will.
yeah. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a good one.